Okay, so today we're going to talk about assumptions. An assumption is what do we have to assume to be true in order for us to have a proportion problem. So the big idea is that a rate plus a rate is equal to a ratio. And a ratio plus a ratio that are equivalent is equal to a proportion. And if we have two equivalent ratios, so once again, these have to be equivalent. But if we have two equivalent ratios, then we're going to have that proportion. And if we're going to solve for a proportion, then we have one piece of information missing. So let's look at the following. So Mrs. Mulligan is mixing paint. The recipe calls for 2 gallons of white for every 3 gallons of blue. How much blue paint would she need for 6 gallons of white paint? Well, I know that I'm comparing two rates because, first of all, I've got gallons of white and then I have gallons of blue. So I know that I've got a ratio. And then if I'm comparing blue paint, which you need for 6 gallons of white paint, I know that I also have a proportion here. And I'm solving for a proportion because a piece of information is missing. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a factor puzzle to help me solve it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to really label up top. So I've got white paint over here and I've got blue paint over here because I don't want to get it confused. So my white paint is going to be 2 gallons of white and then I'm going to have 3 gallons of blue. And it's asking me how much blue paint would she need for 6 gallons of white. So I know I need to put 6 down here. And in order for this to, what assumptions do we have to be true? We have to assume that we're mixing the same amount of paint each time. So this original basic ratio of 2 to 3, I'm always mixing the same exact amount. I can't add an extra cup here. I can't add an extra gallon. It always has to be 2 to 3. So my assumption is that it has to be that constant rate increase in order for my recipe to be true. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solve. So here I know that a common factor of 2 and 3 is 1. So I'm going to carry my 2 down. 1 times 3. 3, carry across. So then I know that I'm going to need 9 gallons of white paint. Good job.